Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. When I was growing up, my father had a garden, and he often sent me out to pick the tomatoes. I liked working in the garden, and I didn't really mind, except sometimes there would be a tomato that had grown large and gotten overripe and bent the stalk down so that the tomatoes were on the ground. I don't know if you've ever had to pick one of those, but usually they had burst open. They were oozing nasty liquid and were brown and soft and ugly. I'm sure my face showed revulsion as I picked that one up and threw it away. Sunday was Mother's Day, and so we are spending this week and next week considering mothers in the Bible, some of whom were good and others who were pretty rotten. We have a rotten one to look at today, but it's unlikely that you have heard of her before. Her name was Athaliah, and she's not a mother you would look up to. In fact, as you hear her story, your face might show revulsion too. On Monday, we considered Jezebel, and the first thing to say is that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Athaliah was Jezebel's daughter. At the time, Israel was split into two distinct nations, Israel in the north and Judah in the south. Well, a treaty between Israel and Judah was made, and to seal the deal, Athaliah was married to the king of Judah, who was named Jehoram. To let you know what kind of guy Jehoram was, he killed all 6 of his brothers so that they were no threat to him as king. And in spite of the fact that his father and grandfather had been faithful followers of God, Jehoram rejected God in favor of Baal. Well, that didn't go over well, and some of the nation rebelled. Later on, a raid by some outside enemies resulted in Jehoram and all of his house being carried away, except for his youngest son, Ahaziah. Now, you don't have to remember all these names. There's no test at the end. Ahaziah became king of Judah, and Athaliah, remember her? That's who we're talking about, became the queen mother. In short, there was another revolt, and all of Ahaziah's family was killed. So when Athaliah heard that her son was killed, she seized the throne herself, and then killed all possible claimants to the throne, including her own grandchildren. However, in a fascinating plot twist, one infant grandson was spirited away and raised in secret. Athaliah was considered a usurper queen. During her reign, she established worship of Baal throughout the nation. After 6 years of her rule, she was astonished and surprised when that grandson who had escaped was crowned as a king. She rushed there to put an end to the rebellion, but she was killed then and there. You might find it interesting that both Mendelssohn and Handel wrote music for plays and operas based on the life of Athaliah. So, what kind of mother was Athaliah? Clearly, she was full of ambition for herself, and she did everything in her power to serve as queen, then queen mother, and finally queen regent, which is what you call a queen acting like a king. Hers was the naked and self-centered ambition that could lead her to kill relatives who were perceived as a threat, including her grandchildren. Mothers, good mothers, are often marked by their sacrificial love for others. That's not Athaliah. She was more like one of those rotten tomatoes. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.